Hey, David in Texas says there has to be a creator. You're on with Matt and Dr. Darrel Ray.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I'm David. I'm a deist. I'm not actually a theist. I used to be Christian,
Mm-hmm.
but then I gave up that belief. So now I just believe that there's a creator God, but I don't really believe in any certain religion.
Okay. Why do you believe in a creator God, and what do you know about this God? What are its properties, or what does it want?
Well, okay, so why do I believe in him? Well, for instance...
How did you know it's a him?
Well, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't even assign gender to it, really.
Okay.
My beliefs are kind of muddy at this point because I just believe... Okay, so I believe in a creator God because the universe changes. And it's like, okay, so my idea is that, like, something can't be changing forever. There has to be a point at which it started and at which events started to happen.
Okay.
Because the fact that the universe changes means there was a point at which it was one way, and then because, like, essentially the universe develops over time. And if you go back, all the way back in time, then you should get to a point where the universe just doesn't exist.
Yeah, but time doesn't exist at that point either under the current models. But the big thing is, if we were to go down the path that you're suggesting, which is at some point something happened that resulted in the universe that we experience. I'm fine with the notion that something happened. I'm not fine with the notion of saying, oh, it was a God, because I don't have any information about what happened. I don't know if it's a multiverse solution. I don't know if it's just something that we can't ever figure out what the answer is. And so when somebody says to me, oh, there must have been a God that was the creator, it's the reason why I ask questions about, well, what do you know about this God? What does it want? What's it like? What are its qualities? Because at the end of the day, what I tend to find amongst deists is that they're advocating for a, air quotes, God that they know nothing about, can know nothing about, acknowledge that they can know nothing about it, and yet they're convinced that this thing must exist. And so really it seems to me to be relabeling. There must be some explanation for the universe. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to call it God so that I'm less uncomfortable with not knowing.
Actually, I see what you're saying. Your point does make sense. Because, like, the thing is, it's just that the universe seems to have, it seems like there's an intelligence behind it. Like,
what makes you think that?
Well, for one thing, we have complicated beings called humans who can think and reason.
Sure, but that's something that occurred through natural processes over countless years. It's not like at the origin of the universe there were humans. Immediately after the expansion of the universe, if we had thinking beings that seemed to pop into existence out of nowhere, well, now you might have something closer to an argument for an intelligent creator. But if what we have is the expansion of the universe with physical laws governing all the activity, and this just eventually leads, like if there was a God who wanted to create humans, and his plan is, I'll expand the universe and set in place natural laws that over the course of billions of years will ultimately result in thinking beings who can occupy part of one tiny planet in one solar system, which is one of millions of billions of solar systems and millions of billions of galaxies. Excuse me. That seems to be an absurd way to go about it. It reminds me of like a Rube Goldberg machine. And this is a la Tracy Harris talking about Wile E. Coyote wants to catch that roadrunner. And so he straps a hat on his head that's got a wheel on it, balances on a tightrope that runs down over this. He's got a fan blowing a sail and some bird seed that will explode and has lead in it, and all of this to try to catch a roadrunner, and yet, of course, it doesn't work. But it seems overly complicated if the goal was us. And even if that were the way that this went about, we still are in a position where we have zero evidence that any of this was intentionally designed, even if people get the impression that it has the appearance of design. I just released a video yesterday that talks about how the appearance of design is not design. If we knew something was designed, if we could demonstrate it was designed, we would not say it has the appearance of design. We would just say it's designed and here's the evidence. The mere recognition that we say it has the appearance of design is an admission that we should not be convinced that it's designed, in much the way that when I'm on stage doing magic, I give the appearance of the supernatural, but if anybody concluded that what I was actually doing was supernatural, they have failed because it's not.
I would.
Okay, I think, yeah, I see what you're saying. I think all of it is just reluctant to give up my faith entirely because I'm scared of what the implications would be.
The implications of what?
Giving up faith in God.
Okay.
Right.
What do you think those implications are? So, because I'm somebody who no longer believes in a God, and I can tell you from my life whether or not the things that you're afraid of have happened to me or anybody else. So what is the concern if you don't believe in a God?
Well, makes the world seem like kind of a lonely place. To look like I'm one of those people who's not very connected to the people around me in the first place. So, like, if I have, like, it's like, it's like when I'm alone, when I'm by myself, I'm actually by myself. Like, with no one. Like, I can't reach out and be like, hello. Like, I can't reach out and be like, okay, God, are you there? And also...
But do you get an answer when
like,
you do that?
I don't.
Yeah. David, what I would suggest is you've got what I call a placeholder God. Your social isolation, your feeling of need for other people is not being met, and you're scared to lose the last piece, which would be the God, the deist, the deity, or whatever. And I've known of many people who want to keep a placeholder God in their life. And I'm going to suggest that it also prevents you from looking at the fear of abandonment, of being lost, of not having contact, and maybe it prevents you from taking some assertive steps, to help yourself. You know, as long as you got that placeholder God, at least I can talk to that God or pray to that God or whatever, but you're not doing the thing that you need to do to help yourself.
Exactly.
It's a fear of loss and a fear of not being able to move. I mean, once you drop the placeholder God, you're responsible.
Yeah. What happens is you're like, well, I'm alone, but as long as I've got God, I'm not alone. Except that when you talk to God, you're not getting an answer, and it appears that you are alone. But what if recognizing that the God you're talking to, whether he exists or not, clearly isn't contributing to your life, isn't answering, isn't truly making you feel less lonely, and the second you give it up, that serves as the foundation for you to take the steps that might make sure that you're not lonely, because there are, 30, 40 people on the other side of the glass now, and there's some people in the back room. Many of them have come from all over the country. Some of them from, raise your hand if you're from out of the United States. Anybody here outside the United States? Not today. And we're building communities. But as long as people are saying, oh, no, I've got God, I don't know how you fix the issue. But I understand this isn't just a pure intellectual or a pure emotional exercise. There's something that's convinced you either that this God is real or that it's in your best interest to act as if this God is real. And neither one of those is in any way a demonstration of having a reasonable position on the issue. And so while I'm not going to say, oh, David, what's wrong with you? Give up God and you'll have all kinds of friends, because that's bizarre and absurd. There are plenty of lonely atheists. There are plenty of isolated atheists. There are plenty of people who, once they give up religion, fall into the trap of nihilism and depression and all of those things. Life is not all rosy on the other side of religion. But what it is it's real. And instead of relying on something that I have no good reason to believe exists, I'm fortunate. I have lots of people around. When last year when I decided to get divorced, there was a period of time where I sat around in my house.
Yeah.
And somebody was supposed to come over, and they didn't. And I sat there on my couch and I said, holy crap, I'm 49, I'm divorced, somebody was going to come over, now nobody's here. Is the rest of my life going to be sitting around in this house by myself with occasional trips up to the Atheist Community of Austin to do the TV show, and maybe, yes, I'll get to go do a magic show or get to do a lecture or a debate, but that personal level, am I just going to sit around here in my house? And 20 years ago, after I lost a job, I pretty much locked myself in a house for almost 18 months where I didn't interact that much with the outside world. I would pray and study and play video games, but I was obviously clinically depressed, even though it was never diagnosed. And I made a rule that when I finally got out of it, I made a rule that if I ever found myself in a bad situation like that, I was not allowed to spend more than 48 hours in my house alone. You can take a day, you can take 2 days, but after that, you have to get out and talk to somebody. Now, I don't know if this will work for everybody, but it's worked for me because while I have ups and downs like everybody else, most of the last year has been great. I have friends, I have intimate partners, and it's all because I put myself out there by refusing to stay home. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's a process of individual character, and I'm not trained to give you advice, and I don't know your life. I'm just asking you to consider the possibility that hanging on to a God, when you acknowledge that you really don't have a good reason and you're not getting anything back from it, might be the thing that's preventing you from addressing the other issues in your life. Exactly the same as Darrel was saying.
David, what are you doing to get out and interact with
We lost David. The phone call disconnected or he hung up.